Alright, let's finish this series up with Shanghai Nights, coming out 3 years later, but taking place 6 years later, because the first film took place in 1881. It is now 1887, as we are shown on the screen. And it also leads to some historical inaccuracies that I will explain as we go along. So we start off in the Forbidden City, China, much like the last one, only here we get Lord Rathbone, our main villain for the film, killing Chun Wang's father. But we established that beforehand that one, Chun Wang has a sister, Chun Lin, and so that leads me to talk about Chun is their last name, not their first name. But Owen Wilson's character, Roy, only refers to him as Chan throughout the entire film. That's his last name. And then later when they talk about, this is for father, he goes, for Papa Wang. No. Chan Wang. Wang is his name. His father's name is something else. We don't learn his name. But we are revealed here that Chan Wang has a sister. And Lord Rathbone kills Chun Wang's father as revenge for an old friend, as he says. And they steal the Imperial Seal. We getting cut to Carson City, Nevada, where Chun Wang is still sheriff after 6 years. And Roy has apparently found a way to publish a book by someone named Sage McAllister called Royal Bennett and the Mummy. Apparently, it's the events of the first film. If there were mummies involved, I guess. It paints himself as the all-powerful hero while the Shanghai kid runs and hides with Princess Pepe, who is not in this film because Lucy Liu was busy, I guess. I don't know. But they say she is in San Francisco, not Los Angeles. San Francisco. Same state, but San Francisco. I'm saying that because Decker Shadow says it was Los Angeles. No, it's San Francisco. But she's busy. But Chun Wang gets a box from his father, telling him that from his sister, saying that their father died. So he has to go to New York to talk to Roy to get his half of the gold so he can go to England. However, of course, Roy has gambled it all the way on Zeppelins, which were blimps, and they didn't go anywhere. Really, airplanes became a thing, and it kind of went, especially with the Hindenburg. But that was after this. Who knows? In this universe, it happened the same year. Who knows? It could have. Yeah, so eventually they stow away on a ship, find their way to England. Yes, we catch Roy in a lie. It's Roy. I have the same problem with Owen Wilson's character in this one as I did in the first one. He's babbling on about God knows what in this film, and there are lies, and they're the same jokes with him. They haven't really done anything. Like, there's the thing he starts spieling to this little kid where he's like, "We have parents, parents." And this is like, what? You don't have any because you're an orphan. And I'm like, that's very mean, but also, why are you babbling about parents? I don't know. Into England and are immediately pickpocketed by this little kid, whose name is revealed later, but we'll get to it because it's another inaccuracy. But they get there, and they're pickpocketed by the kid, and he takes his uncle's pocket watch that he stole. That Roy had already stolen from his uncle. And this triggers the Jackie Chan action scene, and then they are arrested by Scotland Yard. Even though they were just trying to get the watch back and didn't really do anything wrong, but hey, they were arrested in the first one, so we gotta do it here, right? Why are they arrested? Like, he's like, in comes the inspector, Inspector Doyle. We'll get to his full name in a minute. But he comes in, he's like, looks around at all the ass that Jackie Chan had kicked it. He's like, hmm? And then it's like, I think you should have come me back to the yard. And then they're in jail, and we get the joke that Roy's an idiot. This isn't a yard, it's a jail. You should know what Scotland Yard is. I mean, come on. But yeah, why were they arrested? It makes no sense. It was self-defense. They were defending themselves. They were being attacked by those men. Why are they being... It doesn't make sense. But they meet the inspector. Inspector Artie Doyle. Yes, he is Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote the Sherlock Holmes novels. Even though he was actually a doctor before he became a writer, not a... not a cop, but, you know. And they say that they're not really in trouble, though, so I don't know why they're put in a jail cell, but he's like, it's very impressive. I've been after that street gang for ages. And it's like, why did you arrest these guys then? I don't know. But then he lets them go, and he takes them to Lynn, who tried to assassinate Rathbone. She's not very smart. And she thought it would be let go, but they go on. Try to figure out how to find the Imperial Seal. And then once again run into the kid, who he's popping up in this film, and you want him to just like fall off a cliff, run away, but you find out he's an historical figure, which is both amazing and inaccurate, because we'll get to it. Artie also says that Jack the Ripper is out there, but those Jack the Ripper murders didn't start until the year after the events of this film take place. So, no. But we see him later too. He tries to attack London, and it's like, okay, I get it. You're trying to throw London at us, but no, doesn't make any sense, because historical inaccuracy doesn't work. But yes, so the kid has him stay at this mansion that he breaks into, I guess, and they go through a plan. They get disguises, dressed as royalty, where Chun Wang is the Maharaja of Nevada. And can you guess the name that Roy uses? By the way, Artie is also there because Scotland Yard is guarding in place. So what name would Artie have to hear to inspire him? That's right, Sherlock Holmes. Are we hammering it in enough? Have we hammered it in enough? I don't think we had it in enough. Sherlock Holmes, Maharaja of Nevada. And of course, because this is a movie that takes place in England, we gotta make the spotted dick joke, followed by a haggis joke, because gross, right? When you're a kid and you're spotted dick, ooh, hey. But as an adult, you're like, okay, we get it. I've heard this joke a million times in every movie that's written by an American that takes place in England. Can we move on from this joke, please? Chun Wang is introduced to Lord Rathbone, and at some point before that, we find out he's working with a Chinaman, played by Donnie Yen, because we have to copy the villains from the first film, which were one American and one Chinaman. However, the lawman in this isn't crooked like Marshall Van Cleef in the first one. So that's a change. But there is a lot of repeats with this, including a scene where, first of all, they go to investigate. They find that Rathbone has a key that belonged to Chun Wang's father. So they break in, but they can't find him. Obviously, it's a secret pathway. And then some royal guards or boxers, whatever they are, show up to fight. Whatever they are. Royal guard, bad guys show up to fight Chun Wang has this fight where there's a joke that the secret passageway keeps going around and around, so Roy doesn't see it, and then bad guys come after him. But of course, Owen Wilson can't do stunts, so Lynn bursts out of a portrait. She was just behind there and saves him, but they're too late, and we see him, with the Chinaman. I think this is where we see him with the Chinaman, which was revealed to be Wu Chao, the Emperor's bastard brother who tried to steal the Imperial Seal and was banished from the Forbidden City. So, kind of a different version of Lo Fong from the first one, but they're able to get the seal, but the kid steals it. Of course he does, because we gotta keep having this kid in the film for some reason, and then Rathbone sets the thing on fire, and they're able to get away. And so now we copy the first film again, and we hide in a brothel. And we redo the scene where someone overhears someone talking bad about them, and this time it's Chun Wang talking bad about Roy to his sister, because there's a love interest thing going on between them. And so Roy gets all mad, even though he did the same thing 6 years earlier in the first one. But doesn't last long, because they have a naked pillow fight with some women. But then Lynn walks in and she gets so sad because she wants to be with Roy, but they're with a bunch of naked women, and you aren't together. Why are you mad? This is so she can run off in a huff, and the other two chase after her, but she encounters a time-displaced Jack the Ripper, who, like I said, wouldn't exist yet. But he gets his ass kicked. And then the other two find her, and the boxers show up. Oh, I forgot there is a scene, because they get separated. She goes up this little hole when there's a fire, and they burst through in a car, a newfangled automobile as they call it then. And then they meet up again and go to the brothel, and they make a Stonehenge joke because they crash into something that's going to be Stonehenge, and Chun Wang makes the joke, "Who puts a rocks in the middle of a field?" As the okay, and then they get captured, and we're introduced to Wu Chao. More introduced to Wu Chao. His plan is to get the seal, kill the emperor, and take over as the new emperor of China. I'm not sure how that works. And then Rathbone, they're going to use a newfangled machine gun, which technically already existed, I think, before this, but this Gatling version of the thing wouldn't exist till later, I guess. I don't know. But they're using it to kill the royal family, because Rathbone is 10th in the line for the throne. So you kill all the other ones and he'll be king. Except it doesn't work that way, because suspect. And yes, I am aware they're going to use Lynn as the patsy for this, saying she did it. But there's still going to be an investigation, and they can still say that they were in cahoots. It's going to be way too obvious if he's the only one that's robbed. And he makes sure he's not there when it happens. So conveniently, the only surviving member, and the next in line after all those people are dead, just so happened to not be there when the rest of his family were slaughtered. That is way too convenient. Yeah. So they are questioned to find out where the kid is. They don't know. So we get another action fight scene where they were going to dunk him upside down, but of course, John Wayne gets out. He does a fight scene, and there is a funny thing where they do the thing with that wooden wheel thing turns and he keeps going in and out, and then this thing when they go back and forth, and behind him you see Roy going in the water, and at this point he's had enough. He's like, fine, just let me drown, and he falls in and he saves him, and they swim off, and they go to Artie, who of course, much like Sherlock Holmes, who he would write later, can deduce things. So they use the kid's hat, which somehow they still have, even though they were both wet, and yet they find the wax on the hat, which would have washed off in the water. Where was the hat? I don't know. But they find the wax, and it says at the Wax Museum, which is where they find the kid, and they get the seal. But the boxers come in, and the kid at sword point, and Roy won't let the kid die, so even though he's treated the kid like crap the entire movie, he gives them the seal, they let the kid go, and they are arrested again! This time with Artie, who is no longer a cop at this point. They're arrested again, but the kid comes to save the day, and he rescues them, and then he's like, well, why did you save me? Why did you give them the seal? You know? Because he said earlier, I see a lot of myself in him, so maybe, you know. And we find out the most inaccurate anachronism in this film. The kid's name is Charlie Chaplin, who wouldn't be born for 2 years, because Charlie Chaplin was born in 1889. So Nope. But we get the showdown. Wu Chao gets destroyed by he gets exploded by some fireworks, and we have the showdown on Big Ben because, of course, why not? And they try to make you think that Roy died, but he didn't, and John Wayne thinks he did, but he didn't, and they defeat Rathbone and save the day, and they're all knighted at the end, including Artie, who is now officially Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and that gives us the name Shanghai Knights. Way to actually make the name accurate in the last 5 minutes of the movie. Good for you. Yes. And Artie says he's going to stop being a lawman, and he's going to start writing books, and he's going to use the name Sherlock Holmes. And it's going to be about a detective who deduces things like he did. And they make fun of the fact that that's a stupid name. Oh, also, when they go to see Artie, Roy is dressed like Sherlock Holmes. Just keep hammering that nail in, and this was the final nail in that Goblin. We get it. He's Arthur Conan Doyle. You're sowing the seeds for this. It's come full circle. We get it. And then they said we're going to go to Hollywood. Apparently, Roy and Lynn are going to be a couple. They're going to go to Hollywood. He's like, come on, we could be in moving pictures. Come on, you could be in movies, right, John? He's like, John Wayne? Movie star? Because get it? John Wayne, movie star. By the way, they don't mention his name, Royal Bannon's real name, Wyatt Earp. Not once is it mentioned. Even when the Queen knights him, he's knighted as Sir Roy O'Bannon, not Sir Wyatt Earp, which would be his real name and what they would actually say. No, it's like the writer's like, okay, that was a bad joke. Let's just get rid of it. We keep the John Wayne joke, though. So, there's that. And we find out that the kid, Charlie Chaplin, if you choose to call him that, has snuck aboard, so he's going to Hollywood too. And he's got a little mustache thing, like Charlie Chaplin had, even though he wasn't born yet. And we in the movie. So, yes. I don't know. This was a little different this time. I would say this one was better than Shanghai Noon. I think they're about the same. They have the same dumb jokes in them. This has a lot of historical inaccuracies to it. I mean, I don't know what they were trying to do, but it doesn't work. They said this 10 years later. Well, even Charlie Chaplin would still be too young. If it was, 1891, Charlie Chaplin would be 2 years old. I don't know. They wanted the Charlie Chaplin. They don't tell you who he is till later, but they do hint it when one of the street gang guys call him Charlie. Apparently, according to Decker Shadow, he's called Pickle. I don't remember hearing him say that, but I call him the Kid, because that's just, I don't know. I had fun with it, though. It's fun. But there's a lot of story beats they take from the first one. The two villains. We gotta break each other apart, but it's not as long, so it's still cool. It's different. Female love interest that's brought in by Chun Wang and Roy falls in love with, just like with the Indian Native American lady that disappeared for some reason. Who knows? But it's still the middle of the road, much like the first one. It's good. But I enjoy these films immensely. Apparently I don't know. Apparently they're still working on a third film called Shanghai Dawn. And I don't know if they can follow this format anymore, but it was going to start in Hollywood and then go to Africa or the pyramids or something like that. Interesting. I don't know if you could do the start in Hollywood thing, although you could say they've been in Hollywood for 20 years. You're going to have to do that because of their ages. I mean, here, it was only 3 years later and they jumped to 6 years. But you're going to have to do more because of their ages. They're older now. All three of the main stars, that being, Chun Wang, Royal Ben, and Lin, were supposed to come back. But I don't know. There hasn't been anything of it as of 2021, so I don't know. But I'm still interested in the third film. I think it would be cool. I know Jackie Chan is getting up there in age. He's in his 60s now. Who knows what Owen Wilson is doing? By the way, look at this for the Shanghai Night. That is obviously Photoshopped Owen Wilson's head on there. That is so Photoshopped. I mean, come on. But yeah, middle of the road. So what are your thoughts on Shanghai Nights? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.